I made a choice. I said, I'm either going to die or, which I've been trying to do for what felt like my whole life, or maybe I should just turn it around. Maybe I should, if I'm not going to do this, which I'm taking this much time to die, maybe I don't want to die. Maybe I don't want to die. Maybe I want to be successful and happy and like all the things that I actually do want to be, but I'm just maybe afraid to even try to get them and fail. Addiction stole years off my life, but it also gave me something that I never expected. So today I'm going to talk about my story. Okay. It's not a success story, but it is my story. And, before I had addiction, I had, the signs that I would have addiction. I enjoyed food a bit too much. I had an affinity for video games. And then when I was 6 years old, my babysitter, he did more than just babysit. Let's just say that. And I ended up having something happen to me that would fundamentally change my life forever. I played a lot of video games. And I ate a lot of food. But like as I got older, I started to gain a lot of weight. Because obviously, when you eat a lot of food and you don't really exercise that much, you just put on weight. And I went from being in grade 6 at around 150 pounds to 200 pounds in grade 8. And then grade 9, I was 250. And then at the end of grade 9, or grade 12 rather, I was 280 pounds. But I played sports, so I was able to keep the weight off. And then, some things happened in grade 12 where my girlfriend at the time and we broke up. And I also maybe lost my best friend at the same time because of my girlfriend. So because they started dating, I ended up having this awful feeling inside. And so once high school ended, all that depression, all that built up trauma from my childhood, all of the being different and being awkward and uncomfortable around people and just manifesting just this personality of just high energy, joking around consistently to basically hide who I was. Well, that all came to kind of a head, and I was 345 pounds within like 6 months of high school ending. It was awful. I had stretch marks that were like purple. It was bad. Bad back. Everything hurt all the time. And then, you're 345 pounds, you're 18 years old. It's not a good look for me. And it affected me. I can't explain to you how emotionally damaging I found that. Just to look in the mirror and be like, oh God, that's what you look like. Well, better ignore it. Like all the other things that I've had to ignore in my life, just put it away, compartmentalize, put it somewhere else and be done with it. And if you ignore it, it will go away. It doesn't. So I ended up going to college and I went into an acting program and I found just the best type of people, they were creative. They were quirky. They were funny. They all had their own character and they were nice to me. And they treated me as a human and not as how I treated myself, really. And that was nice. I wish I could have jumped on that bandwagon with them, but unfortunately, I had a lot more self-destruction to do before I could start repairing. And also in college, I stumbled across other things that were not good. I'd already had an issue with drinking. I started drinking when I was 18 years old. Couldn't do it properly. Much like the eating, I would just overdo it and just blackout. A lot of let's just say that a lot of my memories used to be videos. And then when I started drinking, a lot of my memories became like freeze frames of just awful things from the night before. And my memory just in general started to get worse. And then, at the end of college, I started to kind of, again, prioritize partying more than the work I was doing, which was something that I really enjoyed doing. I always enjoyed, pretend, play, imagination, just imaginary circumstances that I would take on to become my own, just to act it out for fun. All the time in my own room, because I was an only child. So you gotta entertain yourself some way. And yeah, you don't really you don't really think about that when you're younger. You just think, oh, I'm just like playing around. But then as you get older, you're like, you can make a career doing this. There's a lot of people that just play. That's why it's called to play. It's because you play, but also it's to a structure. It's a story. And then you got a theatrical release of something and it's awesome, right? And I, I ended up getting an education in acting, but I also just inherited this addiction that I already had in me, but it was just amplified. And then I felt bad about that. So then the self-loathing, I've always hated myself. I just always had this self-loathing hate for myself that was in my heart for me. And I didn't really hate anybody else. I just always one person, me. And, you kind of, when you're feeling that way, or at least me, you start to beat yourself up over everything you do because you just criticize yourself, or at least I did. And at the end of college, I was really just hating myself for not getting more out of college when I had what I considered to be some potential. But I just started prioritizing just the wrong things. And then, even through that, I was able to get an agent who was looking for a Jonah Hill type. And when I graduated, I would have been like 280 pounds. And I was curly haired, sweating all the time for many reasons. And, I understood what she wanted from me as an agent. She was looking for that character, and I could be that character, but I wasn't that character inside. And it just, I couldn't sometimes get the other one out of the way, the me, to become the whoever I was supposed to be. That's why acting, it was tough for me sometimes because I had so much personality that I wanted to show of myself that it wasn't able to come through for certain characters, but it would still bleed through, and then it just wouldn't work. Now, I ended up having to basically just stop auditioning and doing all that because every time I would go down to audition, I would go hang out with friends. And then when I'd go hang out with friends, I would end up partying. And it's usually the night before the audition the next day, so I didn't have to deal with the stress of travel before the audition because I lived out of town. That's, that's kind of where where some of the threads started to come undone. And I transitioned into like just working and hanging out with people that I enjoyed, who enabled me. And then I got a partner, got a girlfriend, and I started working at a gym. I thought maybe this would be a good thing. I could do the gym and acting, and maybe that would be good. And then I got overnights because why not do overnights so I can work overnight and then I would have time during the day for an audition. No space for sleep, apparently, at all. Then, during those overnights, I started to fall asleep. And through my education, I realized there was a way that you could stay awake. And when you do that, you end up, kind of losing yourself. And I did. I lost myself. I lost more than just myself. I lost lost friends. I lost my partner. I lost basically my identity because I was an actor. I was funny. I was energetic, and now I'm tired, depressed, and I'm not acting anymore. So there's like a lot of like depression that came with that where I kind of, who am I? And then it just started to go fast. It went down. I was able to kind of maintain this. Like my identity was wrapped up in this ability to maintain all of the partying and performing and being good at the performing, and like not the best, but good. And also being able to like party whenever I wanted. And, I would be lying if I told you that people didn't kind of give me some foreshadowing, give me some advice on the way, but I did not. I didn't listen because, other people, yes, other people would have these issues, but not me. I'm good. I honestly felt like I died. I I was like in a husk of like Mitch. And the only way I can really kind of like describe it is like I felt like I was drowning in the center of the ocean, looking all around for land or something to swim to, and there's nothing. You don't want to go too far that way because if it's behind you, that's farther away. So you just sit there, just in just some stasis, and then I just sunk and I hit the bottom. I hit rock bottom as hard as you possibly can, and that was rough. But in the middle of hitting the rock bottom over and over again, enough that it was sand, I decided to, you know, make a change. I had like a divine intervention in the middle of a psychosis where I'm not able to communicate properly with anybody. I am basically in fight or flight at all times. I'm manic, and I decide this isn't me. When I say my name, Mitch, and who I am and what I think I am, that is not what I'm doing. That's not who I am. And so I decided to make a change. I I'd thrown out any paraphernalia or anything that could possibly, you know, really do me harm. I I had weed, and I was going to use that to wean off of all the other things that were horrible. And because of that, I gave myself a little addiction to weed, but I also was able to get off of some of the most addictive substances that are on this planet. But I didn't go to rehab for it, which later on, when talking to a counselor, I would find out that that's incredibly tough to do. And I found it to be almost the easiest thing to do because the alternative was death. I had had moments where I was asleep for 2 to 3 days. And during that, sometimes people would try to wake me up, and it was impossible. I wouldn't wake up. You could have thrown me out of a window and I would not have woken up. And then when I would wake up, it would be like, I'm alive. Like, and everybody, well, not everybody, but one person who I was also doing a lot of this stuff with, she looked at me and was like, oh, okay, good. You're not dead. Which is crazy to think of now, but also in the moment, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, let's keep going. And, I ended up getting evicted from my apartment, and I was going to be homeless, which wasn't how I saw my future. Um, and because of that, I decided that I was going to do the toughest thing that I possibly could do, which was to ask my mother if I could move back home. I was 30, and that really, really affected me. I felt like I was a loser, which I was. Let's be frank here. I was. So it fit the bill, but I just it just hurt my what little bit of my identity and self-worth I had was getting stomped on hard. And I'm glad I did it because it started in motion my recovery process, which ended up being a longer process than I thought it was going to take. I thought I got a couple of years here, I'll bounce back. But like when you throw yourself into addiction just in general, like it grabs a hold of you and it gets a tighter grip on you and you don't realize it until you're dealing with it. And that was in 2019. So from 2019 to 2025. So what I thought would be maybe a year to 2 years was a 6-year process to try to get out of. And I kind of attribute it to, well, not attribute it to, but like I make a kind of a comparison here to being in jail. I took from the spiritual realm a lot of energy by doing all of these things and just hurting this person that whatever you believe in, I'm here. And whenever I am drunk or high and I'm making somebody uncomfortable, they're feeling bad. They're feeling sad when they see me in these states. And that's kind of like like you're stealing their energy. And I was taking it for myself and I was being gluttonous. And so this is how I kind of like put it in my brain to help me cope with some of this stuff, reframe it so it seems to be more digestible. After I was done all that, I have to pay the penalty. I have to kind of go to a spiritual jail. And so after I was starting to get, like after I had quit everything except for weed and video games, I started to sober up. And I started to lose who I thought I was. I mean, my sense of self, my identity, Mitch, the guy I was disappearing. And it scared me. And of course, those other voices pop in your head, like I gotta maybe it was because I was using or something like that. Maybe that's the reason why I was so whatever, right? So good, so funny. So all these different titles I had for myself that realistically they were just there, but I amplified them with drugs. And then when you come off the drugs, you just have nothing. You're just drained. Nothing but irritability, and you're uncomfortable, and you just want to just die. I made a choice. I said, I'm either going to die or, which I've been trying to do for what felt like my whole life, or maybe I should just turn it around. Maybe I should, if I'm not going to do this, which I'm taking this much time to die, maybe I don't want to die. Maybe I don't want to die. Maybe I want to be successful and happy and like all the things that I actually do want to be, but I'm just maybe afraid to even try to get them and fail. And that thought, it kind of implanted itself in my head. So I started walking and I started basic exercise again. And I went, it's maybe going to be a slow process, but we'll get through it. And that was like 2020. And COVID happens. And I immediately am inside all the time. And I'm playing video games and I have weed and feel like things are good, right? Like I got it. I'm good. I got rid of all the bad things, right? Well, no, not for me. Some people can do these things in moderation, but I don't do moderation well. That's just not how I am. So I ended up, the good thing was I ended up listening to a lot of podcasts, and I listened to people who are smarter than me describe kind of the behind the scenes of addiction and what's going on and how to really handle it. And then I would absorb it and I would act slowly on that. So slowly that I didn't think I was doing it. And I started to really, come out of the self-loathing thing a little bit, but the addiction thing was really, I was starting to lose that pull towards things, towards everything. In fact, I was losing pull towards everything. So I figured maybe I was dying in my brain, like I destroyed my brain, which, the debate could still be made. But I just had, succeeded at so much in my life that I thought, if this is the dead brain I have now, this is my own doing, and maybe I should just sit like this. But I was also smoking weed every day. So that's a drug. And even though I didn't consider it really anything, it was still in my system. And games are also a drug in a lot of ways because they release so many different bits of dopamine when you're playing games. There's intensity, there's ups, there's downs, there's stories. There's so much in video games that you can be hooked to. And I mean, like when I was younger, I didn't want to get up to even go to the bathroom because I wouldn't be able to play. So that brain's there no matter what. Like before any other things were in my system, that brain was there. And I've played the game where I go, well, who did that to me? Why was it me? Was it because of what happened when I was a kid? Or doesn't matter. It's in my head. It's there. It's my reality. It's what I have to deal with. And, you know, I wasn't able to work because I just couldn't bring myself to do things in public. My nervous system was shot. So, like, I wasn't able to hear sounds that were too loud without freaking out. I wasn't able to focus at all. I couldn't talk properly. I physically was in agony, and my posture was destroyed. I was hunched over my lower back, my knees, my elbows, my neck. My neck is so bad. My neck is still so bad. And I don't think, like, I don't know how that will resolve itself. I exercise now, but I still think that the neck has permanently been mangled because of the amount of tension and just going through my system sometimes. And, you know, I met somebody, which is strange, but I was putting myself out there because I was streaming video games, which, again, I was trying to utilize my addiction to gaming and my entertainment purpose to play video games on stream to see if I could make money doing it. So the person you would be watching was miserable. So what's going to happen there, right? Like, yeah, I don't like watching someone who's just down. There's no energy there. Like, that doesn't work. So, like, why would I expect anybody else to really want to watch that? So I didn't really have a following, but I did do it. And while I was doing it, one person did pop in, and that person happened to be who my fiance is right now. And she saw me there, and we ended up chatting. And through almost fluke, she lived not that far away from me. We were playing a video game together, and that literally has a mega server across all of North America. And she found me. And many times in my life, since I've been trying to get better, I have seen little bits of intervention, almost like a guiding hand to kind of be like, go this way, please. This is the way you want. But you need to get sober. Okay. I'm going to help you. Go destroy everything and delete the numbers of everybody in your phone who you have contacts with. That way, you don't remember phone numbers. Nobody remembers phone numbers, right? You don't have their phone number. You won't be able to contact them. Get rid of it. If you're thinking, what if I just keep it in case? Wait, in case what? In case what? You need to say hi to them? Like, no, you're going to be probably grabbing something and you don't need to. Get rid of it. Get rid of those numbers. Get rid of those contacts. Delete them. Forget their names. Forget they exist. That was something that was put in my head, and I went, you know what? Yeah, I will. That's good. That's just good advice. And if anybody out there is dealing with that, do it. That's one way. If you want to help yourself, delete contacts. Make sure you cannot contact them in any way. Anyways, that's like probably 2023, 2022, 2021. I decide, okay, cool. There's this girl, and maybe I should, maybe I should talk to her, and we'll see what's going on. And we end up just really connecting in a nice way. And I get this like drive inside of me. Well, I should probably be better than I am right now. And so I go get a job. And then I get a promotion at this job, and I don't stop. I started making money. I don't know. I became a man who could be relied on. That was another thing. I wasn't reliable. I was flaky. Like, I would make plans with 3 different people, and I would try to get all 3 of them in at once because I couldn't say no, because that's just less things to do. And I wanted more. And again, just because I was generally like happy, I started to lose weight. She met me when I was 280. I'm 220 now. And that's just through working and not eating as much. And again, I'm not eating as much, but why? I'm not filling voids. The voids aren't there to fill. I'm full. I'm like satiated from being alive. And that honestly is a major breakthrough that I had had. And then unexpectedly, but not wanted, I am told that I'm going to be a father. And that changes a whole lot, because now I have to be a role model. I have to be this person that's, I don't know, I have to be better than I am, because I have to make sure that she doesn't follow my same path. And I know she has my DNA. And for a very long time, I was like, I don't want to have kids because I don't want to put them through what I've had to go through, because I thought it was just mostly inside of me, and that I was just bad. I had bad blood. I was just a bad person, bad brain, bad everything. And I should probably not be here. That would make the world better. For a while, my brain was, I should probably end everything right now, because that would make everybody else happy, because then I wouldn't be a burden on them with my existence. And then I would get mad at, like, well, basically the people who were closest to me, because I'd say, how selfish are you that you keep me alive? Because I don't want to hurt you. But if you could just tell me to do it, then it would be way easier if I could just end it now. That's where I was at. Whereas it's like, how selfish are you for keeping me from ending it? It's just hard to think of sometimes. But thankfully, I started to get better, and I attracted a person. And that attraction resulted in my daughter, which, if I hadn't been getting better, I would never have had my daughter. And she has fundamentally changed everything in my brain. Because now I'm like, I'm mending now. I'm in the best part of my life. Finally hit it. Mid 30s. I'm 36. So, took a long time to get there. I feel like now I'm finally hitting my stride, but I also know that I'm not done, because I'm not dead. So addiction, we've been in a fist fight my whole life, and it used to just toss me around the ring and just have its way with me. But now I literally have its gloves off, defenseless, cowering in the corner, and I'm going to keep it that way. But I also am never not going to be in the ring with it. I always am going to be fighting with addiction, no matter how old I get, no matter what I do. I always am going to be not worried. I'm going to be aware that it's always present in the ring with me. And if I turn my back on it, it immediately starts to arm itself again. Always. That's how it's been my whole life. And with how strong it is in me, and if anybody else is out there dealing with it, you know what I mean? You think you start to get good, you relax on certain things, your discipline drops a little bit, and next thing you know, you're using again. And that's just, you can't let that happen. Now, when it comes down to it, like, I still had weed, and I didn't consider it anything. And I had video games, which I didn't consider anything. But video games, they're addictive. And they're getting better and better with every day. But that addiction that was in me, it started to subside. So I don't have a pull for video games as much as I used to, which I'm like, thank you. That was one I really didn't want to get rid of, because it's been my whole life. Like, my whole life I've had video games to rely on as kind of like a therapeutic, meditative state, where I would go in there and pull myself out of my mind and play a game. And then in that place, I would also run scenarios and just deal with things in my life. But I still had weed. And then about a month and a bit ago, I was just, I don't know. I was with my fiance, and she said, I'm going to quit. And I was like, okay. And then 2 days later, I did. And it was, I was coughing a little bit, like every day, just coughing. And she had her own reasons, right? She wanted to just have a clearer mind. She would get a little bit anxious when she got high and stuff. So she wanted to quit. And I was like, okay, well, it's nothing. So we'll just quit. And then 2 weeks later, I realize I'm almost getting high, because I'm sobering up. And it's now been a month and a bit. And every day I feel like I'm like happier, and my anger bursts are like non-existent. I used to have angry, just like explosions that would come out of nowhere of just this, just rage, but it's dissipating, which to be honest with you, if you had asked me beforehand whether or not I would have had anger issues from weed, I would have said no, because that makes no sense. But for certain people, maybe that's something that happens. A lot of people I hear who are smoking, they go, I do it to keep my temper down, which I'm like, okay, but you still are angry from time to time. I am still a human, so I can get frustrated, but my burst of anger doesn't happen. It gradually comes in, gradually goes out. Instead of not coming in, not coming in, not coming in, boom, and then out. So it's like definitely processed in a healthy manner. I also spend way more time with my daughter now, and we play around a bunch, and I am more playful, which I'm really really happy about because that playfulness, it's it was gone. Playfulness was gone from me for 6 years and probably 7 years. Now I'd quit drinking in 2017, 2018. This is the problem with the trauma around all of this is I cannot remember any of the years or time or anything. I don't know what years they were in. I cannot, like, so much of my memory is so fragmented around this time, especially when I hit rock bottom. Like I was awake from a Thursday to a Tuesday, and then I slept from a Tuesday to a Friday. Which what I mean when I say I stole spiritual energy, like I was, I did more than that. I stole probably a lot of years off the end of my life, which I have to come to terms with, which I have come to terms with. It just sucks. But the spiritual jail sentence, it is, it's coming to an end. I'm on probation. I can tell because I'm getting Mitch back. That me that I missed, that I thought was gone, that I thought I broke. Thought I broke all the brain parts that gave me me. But with the sobering up from weed, it's almost like the warden went, ah yes, you finally put it all together. Good job. Now, I'll give you a little bit back. You get out there and you do what you need to do, what you want to do, what I want you to do. I'm avoiding certain words to be used for all of this because it just gives it gives a weird connection for certain people that they don't like it. But I definitely look for a higher power to help me through a lot of things. And whether it was just because of the act of doing that and surrendering yourself to it, or if there was something really helping me along the way, um, placebo effect or not, it helped. It worked. And that's coming from an atheist. And now I don't know where I am on anything like that. And I'm not putting titles or names or labels on anything. I just am living. And I just, I don't know. I want you to know, guys, that if you're dealing with addiction and you feel like you're losing the fight, just hold fast, stand tall, punch that addiction right in the face and do not let it win. Never let it win. It's always harder to climb back from getting knocked down than it is from standing up to something. And even if you get hit in the face by it, you're still standing up. You're still standing. You want to be a winner, right? You want to be a victor. You don't want to be a loser. You don't want to be I don't believe the victim is a good place to stand. I believe that the overcoming of something is way better. So I would say if you're dealing with any of these issues, whether it's food, sex, drugs, gambling, exercise sometimes, just be a winner. That should be your goal, right? Now, I find it tough to even give advice on this because I know that so many people gave me advice along the way and I just took it and threw it away in a lot of ways. So, if you don't see it in your life as something that's bad, I believe that when you do see it as something that is bad, that is hurting you, you will have the ability to change. Now that's coming from me, and I want to believe that for everybody. Realistically, the only way you can get through all of this is if you have love in your life, and that's either love for others, love for yourself, or just love from others towards you. So I love you. I do. If you're going through these types of things, I love you because that sucks. I'm sorry. But take that for what it is and use that. You can use that. It's a very strong energy, that love. It's the most powerful thing in the world. Thank you for watching Authentically Mitch, my podcast on just being real, being with you guys. And next week, I am going to be talking about whether I'm too old to be doing this, which I'm doing it right now, so I don't think I am. But we'll talk about it then, okay? Thank you.